Testing. We have a chat window now. And we have some people already in the chat. Oh. That's good.
Look at it did. Oh no, that was from last night.
That
was from last night.
Hey everybody, just bear with us a wee second. We're having some potential technical difficulties. I like the card on your screen says.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it
Is
at
it
all.
not? Is it not showing up? What is it?
Let me see her. Oh, we're live.
What does it say? Does it have the right title?
Yeah, live chat with Muzz.
Awesome. Awesome.
Sweet.
Right, we're good. Hey Evie, Dylan, Jack, Taylor, ASMR Lagamilla Beta, JRP, how's it going? All right, so let's, yeah. And
hi everyone.
Right, can you hear us both? I'm gonna just introduce you to Grace from Grace's Grove.
Hi, this is Grace. Live from Canada.
Yeah, so we are going to be having a little chit chat about ASMR, obviously, and specifically we wanted to see what you guys would like to talk about regarding not safe for work ASMR. So we'll see what you have to say about that. Hey Callum, and
hi Jack Jolly.
Taylor, Orange Bunny, how's it going?
Hey Callum.
Morning, afternoon.
Hi Jeremy.
Oh, I was going to just quickly put down our channel name, shouldn't I? So let's do that. Just going to mute my mic while I move it up a little bit. There we go, right. So, as some of you may or may not know, Grace has been a massive supporter of my channel, and we both started our channels round about the same time, which would have been about 2.5 years ago, is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So we thought it would be an idea, since Grace decided to make a little trip to Canada to meet up and do a little live stream. So here we are. So if you haven't already checked out Grace, you should go and do so at Grace's Grove. Okay. And obviously you know who I am, but for symmetry's sake I'll put my name down anyway. Okay, and I'll put a little play button there just to make it super obvious that I have this thing called a YouTube channel. Okay. Oh, we have a question there for you, Grace.
We do, and I think it's for me.
Yeah.
So I'm from the U.S., so I'm from south of where Muzz lives. And that's about as specific as I'll get.
Yeah, it's the internet. You gotta be careful.
Hi, Friends Audio. Good to see you.
Okay.
Oh,
Grace.
thank you, Jack Jolly. I hope you enjoy my content.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. Grace also brought a few pencils, different colored pencils. I normally use pen, but we're gonna have to try these pencils out and see if.
And they're really cool. So they're colored pencils, but they're erasable, because that's one of the things that I love the most about pen and paper ASMR is the erasing part. And then also the sharpening. So I brought a little manual pencil sharpener with me. Slightly selfish, but I hope you guys will enjoy it too.
I'm sure they will. So, what's this accompanied? Yeah. What's happening, everybody? So, I don't know if you want to just, if we want to jump in with talking about this while I sharpen some pencils.
Yes.
That's an idea.
We can tag team the listeners.
Yeah, and if
Muzz will give you ASMR, and I'll whisper to you.
Okay, I didn't position the camera next to the mic, but I'll put it next to the mic.
Yeah. So it was kind of interesting. Muzz and I were talking over dinner earlier this week, and he was asking me how I got into ASMR. And it's something that I've talked about with my patrons before, but it's not really something that I've talked about a lot publicly. So I could probably share that. And I think Muzz has shared how he got into ASMR, probably with all of his listeners. Yeah, Taylor, I like the pencils too. They're fun. So I actually was a listener of ASMR before I became an ASMR artist. And I think that's the story of a lot of ASMR artists. So I was recently out of a relationship and feeling a bit depressed and down and a little bit stressed because I was in school at the time, and I needed some meditation or just something to help me sleep and help me calm down a little bit. So I went onto YouTube and I was searching for male voices because I preferred that. It was more relaxing to me at that time. Hey, Kirby. Kirby.
Kirby from Scotland, if I'm not mistaken.
And so I went onto YouTube and I started searching for meditations or male voices, and I came across this amazing audio artist named Gale Force, and some of you may already be familiar with him. He doesn't necessarily claim to be an ASMR artist, but he does use elements of ASMR in his audio work. And that's how I was kind of introduced to ASMR, kind of on the periphery. And I really fell in love with his work, and I just thought the art form was incredible. It was incredibly healing. It was incredibly relaxing.
Yeah,
and
totally.
It really kind of opened a lot of doors for me artistically to a genre that I didn't really know existed. And Taylor, yeah, so a lot of you probably know who Gale Force is.
Oh, that's cool. We've got some Gale Force fans.
Yeah, and so I became his patron, and we kind of connected, and I ended up later on deciding to record on my own. And he was really supportive of me, gave me some advice, which was really useful. He's a really great guy. And I started making my own audios and kind of went from there. But I was very interested in ASMR specifically as an art form, and not just to use elements of that in my art, but to actually use that genre and transform it and explore different variations of it, because I've always been someone who's gotten tingles, and I didn't know what they were until I found the ASMR community and realized, oh wow, I'm not the only one. This is not so strange. So yeah, that's kind of my ASMR story and in a nutshell.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's I don't personally know anything about Gale Force, but it sounds like at least one person in the chat knows who he is. Yeah, so that's awesome. And I think a lot of ASMR artists, including myself, have these kind of origin stories, and same with yous in the chat as well. You probably discovered the label and went, oh wait a minute, that's that thing that I have, that's that sensation that I get. So yeah. So how would you describe not safe for work ASMR?
Okay, so let's just jump right
into the meat of it.
Yeah, this is a topic that's really, really close to my heart. I know that there is quite a bit of controversy in the community about it. People are very polarized usually when it comes to this particular topic. And so, kind of going back to the origin of how I, became an ASMR artist. Gale Force does boyfriend role plays, and he does erotica. And again, he uses elements of ASMR in that. So that's kind of how I was introduced to it. And because I was in a position where, I was really hurting, I really needed some intimacy in my life, and I didn't have that in real life at that moment because I wasn't partnered at that time. It was really very healing for me to be able to listen to those audios and to be exposed to that genre of art. And it really helped me to heal. It helped me to get my self-confidence back. it did a lot of things for me that really, frankly, surprised and shocked me, that an art form, could do that, and that someone that you didn't really have a personal connection with in real life could actually help to heal you at that level. And so I wanted to give that back, and I felt like it was really important to give that back. So for me, ASMR is really about intimacy. And there's a lot of types of intimacy that we have in our lives as human beings. We have platonic intimacy with our family and our friends, and we have romantic intimacy with our partners. And I think that it's important as an art form that we represent the range of human experience and human emotions in our art. And I think that's where not safe for work, which I don't even really like that term because it's kind of negative in its connotation. It's got a negative connotation, definitely. It does. That's one of the problems. I think that's one of the things that this type of, I like to call it sensual ASMR, that it can really do is it can really help to, kill those stereotypes, kill those assumptions, and really break through some barriers I think that people have about this type of content. And not everyone has access to romantic intimacy in their real life, for various reasons. Sometimes it's a temporary thing. Yeah. Maybe you're unpartnered for a while and you still crave that as a human being, but you just don't have access to it.
Life just happens. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Life happens. Sometimes maybe it's a permanent thing. And I like to use this as an example. I have a friend who has a mental illness, and this particular mental illness is hereditary. So he made the choice not to have children because he didn't want to take the chance of passing this on to someone else. He didn't want anyone else to ever have to go through what he's gone through in his life. And he also made the decision consciously to not seek out a romantic partner in life, because he is not able to support himself, take care of himself. Yeah. And he didn't want to be a burden on anyone else. He didn't want to have to put that on someone else. And
which sounds like a really aware and kind of responsible decision.
Right. And, but a lot of times we have to make these difficult decisions in our life, and we have very valid reasons for making them. But those human needs still never go away. They're still there. They're always there. And so how do you get those met if you can't have that connection in real life? And, and then some people just don't have it available to them. They've just never found someone they've connected with. They've never found someone to be with. And that happens. Not all of us are going to be partnered in our lives. Yeah. But we still have that need as human beings. And so I think that this type of ASMR can be really healing for people, because it's very different from pornography. Pornography is very visual. It's very physical. It's about the act of sex, the physical act of sex. That's not what sensual ASMR is about. Sensual ASMR is about intimacy. It's about feelings. It's about relationships. It's about connection. I say it's kind of the opposite side of the coin, right? And, sometimes you want one, sometimes you want the other. It just depends, right?
Callum's got an interesting point, and this is sort of, I don't know if this falls into the same category or not, but what I don't like about the more sexualized ASMR content, where a girl has her cleavage on display and makes sexual moaning noises for about 10 minutes, is that mainstream media just takes at what ASMR is about. I think I get the gist of what Callum's saying. And
and I get that, and I would actually categorize that more in the pornography
me
section.
Too. I would kind of put it in a separate category maybe as well,
because it's about the physicality. It's about the visual. It's there's potentially not any type of role play or any type of scenario behind it, other than I'm going to make noises and put myself on display.
And it's like
and I'm certainly not judging an artist who chooses to do that. I think everyone should be able to make the art that they want to make.
To do exactly.
everyone has their own motivations for doing what they're doing, and everyone should be free to do that. But I would not categorize that as sensual ASMR. And it's one of the reasons why I've chosen to be an audio artist rather than to put my face out there. Because it's not about me as an individual person. It's not about me as an artist. It's about these scenarios and these characters that I create and this world that I create that people can step into and lose themselves for a little while or find themselves.
Whereas I think maybe what Callum's mentioning and some other people generally allude to is more clickbaity kind of stuff, which is more of a gateway to something, and that something may not be sensual ASMR or whatever at all. It could just be tapping with cleavage. It could just be so it's really just I find that more clickbaity than it is an actual genre or subgenre.
Yeah, and there's also another element to this that you and I were talking about the other evening, and that's the fact that anytime a woman is in public, she is sexualized.
Right, yeah.
Regardless of what she's doing or how she's dressed or whatever it may be, regardless of various variables. Women are constantly sexualized. And I've found that with a lot of the traditional ASMR artists who, very clearly say, I don't do sensual ASMR. I don't do, adult content. I'm only doing this for, relaxation or whatever. But because it's a woman artist, regardless of what she's doing or not doing, she will be sexualized.
Automatically sexualized.
Yes. Yeah. And, that is really a failing of our culture and our society, more than it is the intention of the artists.
Yeah.
And, unfortunately, that is part of life. It's part of life within the ASMR community. It's part of the jobs that we go to as women. It's part of our life every day when we're out in public. And we can't control people's reactions to us. We can only control ourselves and our own intentions.
Exactly.
And, by putting this type of art out there and by doing what I do, it's never my intention to bring unwanted attention to other female artists. But frankly, they're going to get that regardless of what I'm doing or not doing.
And even if the culture did change like drastically, there are always going to be at least some who will do it for likes and views, and they are the ones who will be the headlines. So you're kind of swimming against the tide, even if it's only a handful. But at the same time, should I judge them for that? I mean, they're getting their likes. As long as they're being safe, exercising their own personal responsibility to be safe, then it's none of my business.
Right.
But I do get that a lot of people, especially other women artists, female artists in the community, do find an issue with that, because it's almost like it rubs off onto everyone else, perhaps. But
I think kind of again going back to the main point that whether or not sensual ASMR existed, women ASMR artists would still be sexualized.
Anyway, yeah, they would be. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's going to happen whether we have a genre for it or not.
Yeah.
So why not take control of the genre and make it what we want it to be?
Fair enough.
Turn it into something good, turn it into something positive, use it to help people.
Yeah.
And my intention for my art, I think, is very similar to most ASMR artists in the community. I want to help people.
Yeah.
And, some of the emails that I've gotten in the last 2 years, they've absolutely broken my heart. Things that people have gone through, and I've sat and cried reading messages from people because they're saying, I've felt so horrible about myself for so many years. And, this one audio made me realize that, I'm okay, or gave me a little glimmer of hope, or gave me something to hold on to. And, or maybe it's the first time I've ever heard "I love you." It's the first time I've ever heard someone be positive
that must be hard to hear.
Yeah, and it breaks my heart that, there are people who are out there
who've never heard that.
Who've never heard "I love you," who've never heard, "I like you just the way you are. I think you're wonderful.
Yeah.
I appreciate you." There's so much negativity in the world. And I think if we can just bring a little bit of positivity to people's lives and help them just have a safe place to go, even if just for 10 minutes, I think that it's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. So, hey, Jelly Bean. Nice to see you.
Hi, Jelly Bean.
And sorry if we're not answering or catching up with everybody's questions, but or comments, but we'll certainly be doing the best that we can. Okay. Grace is sitting here with her laptop open, reading the chat as well. So
we're trying.
Hopefully she'll catch anything I miss, and vice versa. So.
Oh, thank you, world's youngest car guy. You guys have some long usernames.
Yeah, I know, that's right. Anomaly says, is it more of a problem when ASMR is advertised as being non-sexual, but it has very prominent sexual undertones? And by that, I mean people advertising ASMR like that, not ASMR in general.
So I think one thing that we all can do as individuals is we need to, when we have a reaction to something, when we say, "Oh, that's sexual," I think that we need to stop for a minute and we need to turn around and look at ourselves and say, why do I feel that way? Why do I think that?
Why is it the default
Is it because
position?
It's a woman that's in front of me? Is it because it's an attractive woman? Is, what is causing me to think this is sexual? And obviously, if someone is like, "Oh, I want to do whatever," and and they're exposing themselves, and there's hearts all over the screen, and there are certain cues that people can put out that obviously would lead you down that path. But if those cues aren't present and you still feel like it's sexual content, I think it's good to examine that and see where that's coming from. But yeah, and as far as ASMR being advertised as non-sexual, to me it's like saying photography is non-sexual, movies are non-sexual. Like ASMR is such a generic
term,
art form.
Yeah.
It's an umbrella term that so many different genres and so many different versions can fall into. I think that makes it very difficult to categorize.
Yeah.
So, just like, and actually Articulate Design has used this example several times talking about photography. You can take a picture of a mountain, or you can take a picture of someone nude. They're both still pictures.
Yeah.
But the context and the content is very different. And maybe that nude photograph is actually hanging in the Louvre and is considered fine art. Or maybe it's in a sex shop and it's considered pornography. What's the difference?
Exactly.
Context.
Yeah.
Or maybe even just who took the photograph. Maybe that's the difference. Because one person is, at a certain place in society and someone else is not. So how we treat sex and anything surrounding that, how we treat nudity, all of those things are very cultural and societal, and they really need to be examined.
Yeah, I agree. And there's a fundamental misunderstanding with what ASMR is anyway. It's like we were talking earlier, there's channels out there that do stuff that I didn't even know existed. And I'm in it. I make it. And I didn't even know they existed. And
cat ASMR.
Yeah, like cat ASMR and Korean dog grooming ASMR and stuff like that. And then so the first time somebody ever gets exposed to ASMR, they say, "Oh, that's that Korean dog grooming genre, isn't it?" And you're like, "Well, that's part of it." But it depends on what you got exposed to first, so.
Let's see, Grousey wanted you to write.
Hey, Tippy Tappy, how's it going, man? Welcome.
And then Jellybean Green actually had a really good comment. She said, jumping into the conversation late, but I want to throw this out there. I don't think enough people consider the value that work like Grace's offers society by modeling scenarios with healthy, positive, consensual sexuality. And yeah, you actually bring up a great point there, because I am very deliberate about the type of scenarios that I create and publicize. And the bulk of my work does very consciously center around consenting, healthy relationships. Relationships that are full of kindness and caring and love, and real intimacy, because I want to model that for people. And I want people to be able to experience that, a lot of them maybe for the first time in their lives, because maybe they didn't grow up with those positive models. You certainly don't see much of them in popular culture, and they're not taught in schools, usually. We're very lucky in the US if we even get any sex ed. So, it's important to have that out there. It's important to have that representation out there, and not just for heteronormative relationships, but I think also for LGBTQ relationships as well, because there's not a lot of positive role models or positive kind of scenarios that are out there in the media. So that is definitely a core part of my mission as an artist, and I'm very aware of that every time I create content.
Yeah, and you can, and this art form allows you to do that. Mm-hmm. It's great for that.
Yeah, and you're right, Calum. The media and popular culture, they're always going to go to the most sensationalistic thing, the thing that's going to get them the most views.
Brain orgasms.
Because one thing that brain orgasms. So one thing that you have to remember is that, the news used to be a loss leader, which meant that they weren't concerned about making money with their news departments. The other departments had to make money, and the news was really, it was neutral, it was fair and balanced, it was a whole different animal. The news is not a loss leader anymore. So they're expected to make money or they get rid of their news departments. So therefore they need to get the most views, the most clicks available. Baby. Exactly. Yeah. So, just like we were talking about some artists who, use sexual cues as clickbait, the news and popular media does the exact same thing. And as far as television shows and even news shows go, their whole goal is to get advertisers and to get as many people eyes on those advertisements as possible. So whatever they can do to make it sensationalistic, they're going to do. And that's just really unfortunate, but they do it with everything.
Brain orgasm is like immediately eye-catching. And, what's that? And but that's the way it's always going to be. And actually, if you look back at many other, like especially music, when like Alice Cooper came on the scene, everybody thought it was horrific and horrifying, and then nowadays he's pretty tame by comparison. Mm-hmm. So it's as art forms grow and evolve, that's just what happens. So.
Oh, and Wilhelm II would like you to write his name, please.
Okay. Wilhelm. Well, Wilhelm, we're not actually doing a...
We're super behind on the chat.
We're not actually doing a writing your name stream, and if I write your name, am I going to have to write everybody's name? That's the question.
Let's see. Dark Shadow says, I once heard I love you in a girlfriend roleplay, instantly got a fuzzy feeling, but I've been scared by women enough being shy to make a move. Yeah, so that's common. You just have to remember that girls are people just like guys are, and they're just as scared and, just as shy as you are. And for the most part, people are kind. And so if you're respectful and nice, even if someone is not interested, they'll still be nice, and that's okay. But yeah, put yourself out there. I think you'll probably be surprised by the results. And yeah, Dark Shadow, that's true for a lot of I'm not sure if you're in the U.S., but a lot of Americans did not have sex ed in high school, or what they did have was completely inadequate and
Is that correct. Like a fairly recent thing? Like 20, 30 years? A lot of people just didn't get it at all?
Yeah, so...
I guess it's the same anywhere, though.
Yeah, unfortunately in the U.S., there's there's a very fundamentalist religious element that has their hand in the public school systems and in public life in general. And anytime that the schools want to bring in kind of science-based, fact-based sex education into the school systems,
there's pushback.
There's always a huge pushback usually. So what's ended up happening in the last 20 or 30 years is a lot of these programs were called abstinence-only programs that were allowed in the schools. So the only thing that they would teach was abstinence. And they never talk about LGBT issues at all. It's like LGBT people don't exist. And they also give out bad information or false information, or they just omit information. And most of us got just, here's the scary film about STDs. The only way you can avoid it is to not have sex.
So there you go.
And, basically have a good day.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, our school systems are quite inadequate when it comes to that. Let's see. Evie wants to know if we have any plans to make role plays or other videos together.
I don't think we have any current plans, and certainly not with the time Grace has, as she's physically here in Canada right now. But we did do a collab before, and I certainly think we'd be doing more collabs in the future. So, yeah, definitely keep an eye out for that. But I don't think we have any firm. We have discussed a few things. Actually, one of the things I discussed was an idea for a short film, but it's technically not in the ASMR genre as we were talking about. At least I don't think it is. So, but yeah, watch this space. So, where are we up to with the chat now?
Yes, Calum. You're right. The positive affirmations videos can help people to feel validated and help them feel, feel good. Yeah.
Like it's sad in a way that we need, or that there is a need for that in society. But the fact that so many people love it and, get a benefit from it shows that, well, people do need it, So I think it's a positive thing.
Yeah. Well, and I'm really glad to hear that, Taylor. Taylor says, honestly, LGBTQ voice artists helped me realize and come out as pansexual.
Right.
And I think that's amazing. I know I had a lot of role models in both my real life, but also in popular culture and online who helped me come out as well. So, yeah, I think it's important to have that representation, the positive representation. Let's see, do you want to read the next one from Anomaly?
I was just seeing if I could catch up there. So from Anomaly, to be fair, science versus religion has been a thing throughout all of history. Like how Galileo was imprisoned because of his thoughts on the celestial bodies, and that being against the church's belief. Yeah. I mean, it definitely seems to draw some parallels with sexual education.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Science versus religion. It's been for a long time, for a very long time.
You're always going to get that, right? I mean, well, should we always get that? Should we accept that? I don't know. I mean, it's a reality of the world we live in right now. But I think attitudes are changing.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly better than it was in Galileo's time, that's for sure.
I'd say so.
Well, in some places in the world, I think we have a very skewed view of this because we do live kind of in a first world country, more of a, liberal, progressive society. Even though, we still have battles to fight, we still have things that need to be addressed.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of places in the world where, religion has kind of overtaken science. And, there are places where people who it's still illegal to be LGBTQ. You can be killed.
Yeah.
There's still places where women are, not allowed to freely participate in society, where, sexuality is considered a crime. Even if you're, hetero heterosexual. So yeah, I think we're lucky to be where we are. There is still a lot of work to do here, but you know, it could be quite different.
But also, I think because a lot of us spend a lot of our time on the internet with things like ASMR on YouTube and what have you, that it's a safer place to connect to people, you know, virtually, if not in person, where nobody had that before. So it's blowing up.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's got to be one of the reasons why this type of thing's just blowing up.
So JRP had a question about demonetization. So he says, as many erotica ASMR artists are aware, does demonetization affect what you create or upload, or do you just go in knowing it's going to be demonetized?
Well, that's definitely a good question for you.
Yeah. So actually right now, my entire channel has been demonetized. I'm in the process of trying to get my monetization back, which has been quite a process. I still have a lot of work to do on the channel before I can reapply. But it does affect what I put on YouTube. But I've always sorry, I hit the mic. I've always had a policy that I don't put anything on YouTube that I wouldn't consider to be like PG-13, or that I wouldn't be comfortable saying, you know, this is something I would see on television. This is something I'd see on the Hallmark Channel. This is just sort of a, you know, rom-com, or, you know, kind of a little Hallmark romance. And that's the kind of stuff that I put on YouTube, and that's the kind of stuff I've always put on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it was interesting, on Twitter this week, Teacup Audio, who also does Sensual ASMR, she said that she had just a regular video get demonetized, which I've had this experience as well. A lot of ASMR artists have, whether they do not safe for work content or not. And, you know, the algorithm it's messed up. And, you know, YouTube demonetizes a lot of things that if you were outside of that platform, if you were on television or in the movie theater or even on radio, advertisers would be lining up around the block to get their ads on that content. So I think YouTube is a really bizarre microcosm in and of itself. And yeah, I do try to be careful what I put on there. Number one, because, you know, a lot of the content that I do is meant for adults only, and it should be behind a paywall. It should be behind some kind of wall where underage people can't get to it. You know, there are a lot of resources around sex education for people who are under 18. But that's not what I do. That's not my focus. So my focus is adults. And, you know, but the stuff I put on YouTube is supposed to be for everybody.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And it's nothing that you wouldn't see
on any other
television.
Regular cable channel at any almost any time of the day. Yeah. Crinkle Oven, just wanted to say hello. Crinkle Oven has shown up finally to a live stream. It's been a while. I don't know if she's ever shown up to one of these live streams before.
Sorry, we're like so behind on the chat right now. We're gonna have to kind of skim through.
And since we had a name request, I thought, well, we didn't want it to descend into like a name stream, so I've just made this little mention shout out box here. So I'm gonna, you know, do my best, I guess. You tried, Crinkle. Yeah, that's so good for you. But yeah.
Oh, okay. So, Pavia.
Pivy?
We probably totally messed up your name. We're sorry. But yeah, I agree with you that people should know what they're getting into. So, you know, I always use tags on my videos, and I don't actually do visuals. I just do audio. So that wouldn't be as much of a concern unless you had your speakers blaring. But I always try to be really careful and label everything, because you're right. As a listener, you know, I wouldn't want to click on something and then have it be, you know, completely inappropriate for the setting that I'm in, and I wasn't forewarned. So I try to be really careful about that. Yeah,
I think you're probably one of the more responsible ASMR artists who actually make an effort to do that, whereas a lot of people don't. They don't declare what's in the actual content. I mean, I'm the same. But yeah, I think, yeah, I don't know. It's a pretty complex thing, really.
Ooh, JRP had a very interesting question.
Do you this one here?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think if sexual ASMR was more mainstream or broadly accepted, it could help with inroads to things like the incel community and other negativity? Wow,
So that's a deep question.
that's a pretty deep question. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
So I have some thoughts on this. What do you think?
my first thought is, I don't know enough about the whole incel thing, and I hate the thought that there's even a thing called the incel community. It seems like an extremely dysfunctional and unfortunate thing that any society would even have such a thing. But I think everybody is deserving of therapy and love and care, assuming they haven't hurt anyone, and they're just pining for attention. They're needing something. Well, then maybe sensual ASMR is the potential therapeutic avenue for that type of thing. But I think there's no way to know unless they actually did it and took a poll. I don't know.
Yeah, so
I
I think sensual ASMR or any type of art form would just be a band-aid, and it really would be treating symptoms rather than treating the actual problem. And the problem really is at a cultural and a societal level. It's the patriarchy.
Fight the patriarchy.
So it really goes back to how people are raised to view women, our place in society, the fact that we are constantly sexualized, the fact that people feel entitled to our bodies, entitled to our time, really just entitled to us. We're viewed almost as objects rather than fellow human beings on the journey of life. And, I think that we need to really focus on being more egalitarian in our society. We need to really, really re-examine how we view human sexuality, how we teach human sexuality, how we socialize human sexuality. I think religion plays a huge part in this. I know a lot of people find comfort in religion and really feel like that's an important part of their lives. But I think there's also a lot of us are pretty messed up when it comes to sexuality from our encounters with religion related to that topic.
Yeah.
So, I think this is a much deeper societal issue. And while things like sensual ASMR and therapy and other avenues can maybe help to mitigate some of that, it's never going to be the solution.
Yeah. I think my thought there too was, so I remember what it was like to be the teenager with the hormones raging, or even early 20s. Oh, I'm never going to find a girlfriend, I'm never going to find anybody who loves me, that sort of thing. And you get into that negative thinking. But all being well, you learn to realize that that's not true, and that somebody will like you or love you, and then you end up hopefully finding the right person, or friends. You maybe bounce around a few relationships. Maybe things don't work out, but you learn that. But now we have this tribal mentality, and so like I was saying, the incel thing, that's a tribe of people who, we're so unfortunate, we are lacking X, Y, and Z, and they have banded together to form a club. I mean, I'm doing, simplifying it, I don't know, but the internet and the way we operate our lives nowadays seems to lend itself to creating these things, whereas a lot of these people probably would have been fine, possibly, unless I'm being extremely naive, probably would have been fine had they not banded together with these other people and had a common sympathy, I think. And yeah, I don't know.
Well, I think one thing too that's really important to remember, especially for younger people, is that none of us are entitled to a relationship. None of us are owed a relationship or a partner.
Yeah.
And quite a few of us may never experience that in our lives. And while that can bring a great sadness and a great deep hurt, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
You will survive. You will find joy. You will find other ways to, find intimacy in your life, to have friendship, to have love. It may not be what you see in the movies. It may not be what you're constantly exposed to, through popular culture. It'll look different, but you can still have those things in your lives. It's just a more non-traditional way.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I like to really tell younger people is that, just do you.
Yeah.
Go out and explore the world. Find out who you are before you try to bring somebody else into your life. And have some relationships. Every relationship doesn't have to be the one.
Yeah.
Some people are meant to be in your life forever. Some people are just meant to be in your life for a short period of time. You can learn a lot from them. You can grow during your time with them.
Yeah.
But you sometimes you just have to move on.
I think it's a fundamental shift in attitude of life is happening to me, or life is happening for me, and that's like, it's happening for me. What did I learn from this crappy relationship? What did I learn from these things? Well, you actually do, when you look back on it, you often think, oh, well, I'm glad that actually happened in retrospect, because now I know a little bit more. Down the path, something better will come.
Yeah. Well, Taylor had a question. There was kind of a little discussion going on while we were talking about male ASM artists getting sexual comments and graphic comments on their videos. And I'm sure that happens to them as well. I think it happens to every person who's in the public eye, regardless of whether their content is sexual or not. Anytime you're in the public eye, again, people are going to sexualize you, whether you're a man or a woman. It happens to men as well.
Mostly women, though,
more so probably women, but I know it does happen to men too. And Taylor wants to know, how do I deal with those kinds of disgusting comments in my videos? So, I guess I always kind of give people a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, because I don't really know where they're coming from. I don't know what their current situation is. I don't know what their motivation is. And a lot of times there's a cultural difference there. There's a language barrier that may be causing something to, read more graphic than what they really intended. I do not engage with those type of comments, so I'm not going to reply back to that. Depending on what it says, I may delete it. If it's more mild or, kind of cute or fun, I might leave it up. But things that are super graphic, I'm just going to delete, because I don't want anyone else exposed to that. People shouldn't be reading through the comments and then have that kind of in their face. But again, I usually just don't engage.
Yeah, that's really the best way, is just to not engage, I think. And to be honest, a lot of the time it might just be some 12-year-old.
Right, and that's the other thing too.
You have no idea who these people are.
I have no idea who's behind that username and that icon. I don't know their age. I don't know their gender. I don't know anything about them. So a lot of times it may be, people who are underage.
Yeah.
And Jenna Trovey, you're correct. There are lots of places to find love. Family, friends, passions in life, profession, your art, travel. You can create a really amazing life for yourself without being partnered. And again, that human need is always going to be there. It's just how you manage it, how you deal with it, and just again, we're not owed anything in this life.
Yeah.
So, you just kind of have to just manage yourself and manage your emotions and, have that emotional intelligence about you.
Yeah. Yeah, there are always people who feel that the world owes them satisfaction, the world owes them a living. And it's a harsh truth. But, I think, and we have it better than most people living where we live in the Western world. I think most of us who are watching this right now probably speak English and are in the Western world, and we have it better than most people. But that brings its own challenges in terms of entitlement. Yeah.
Well, I think, and also we have a lot of time to focus on things.
Exactly.
That really
we don't have to be out hunting or trying to get clean water 7 hours out of every day just to survive. We have a lot of time to sit around and have pleasant conversations like this on a live stream and things like that. So yeah.
Or to sit and obsess about, and also I think when you spend a lot of time alone and, you can get into these thought loops and you can talk yourself into a lot of things that may not necessarily be true.
Yeah.
And the negative voice in our head can be really powerful.
Yeah. And I've experienced that myself.
Yeah.
And that's where I was saying, I do think there's danger there, because when you get into that thought loop or an obsessive thought, you then, with the internet, can easily find people having that same thought.
Right.
And then
it's just that negative reinforcement.
And your immediate craving for connection, this is why we have a Flat Earth Society worldwide. You think these types of things should be unraveling, they're actually growing. People can crave that connection. People who think the way they think, and yeah.
So what other questions do you have for us, guys?
Let's see.
I'm so excited to see all the people in the stream, and we're so glad that you're all here, and we're just super excited to finally get to meet each other after like 2 years.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Crinkle 11. She wants us to have a podcast.
That's basically what this is.
Yeah.
Obviously we can't show Grace's face, so I have been trying, somewhat moderately successful, to be writing and drawing things that might give some interesting visuals during the chat. So
Crinkle 11 wants an ETA on the podcast.
To be honest, this is easy. I'll just turn this whole stream into a WAV file when we're done, and I'll throw it up on Spotify. So
perfect.
Easy. No problem at all.
Good question, Jenna Trovey.
It
is a bit mental.
See, I actually use them as an example, and I believe we're talking about the Flat Earth Society here, because, let's just say pre-internet, you'll have people who had these little thoughts in their head like, wait, that sun up in the clouds, it looks like the sun's in the clouds. It doesn't look like it's in space. Maybe the Earth really is flat. And then you have maybe somebody else 7,000 miles away has the same thought. But there was no internet to get these people together. But now there is. And as we know, it feeds off each other. So, and the same sort of thing happens with ASMR. And that's why our art form's growing so fast. There are people who very rarely would experience ASMR in real life and would never tell anyone else about it because they didn't have a name for it, and they thought maybe they were a weirdo for having that sensation. But now we know it's normal, and there's a whole bunch of us, millions of us, billions of us.
So, the internet can be good and it can be bad, right?
Exactly.
It's a tool.
Yeah, it's a tool, exactly.
So depending on how you use it,
connects
and,
people.
What mindset you're in when you're on it, that can, I guess, determine which way it goes for you.
Totally. And positive and negative depends on,
And Calum, that's actually a really good question. So they wanted to know, what do you think about this perception of people getting aroused by mukbang ASMR? Because I can't even fathom that one out.
Yeah.
There's actually a name for that. I looked it up at one
food
point.
Arousal or something?
Yeah, it's people who are aroused by food. And it's actually a kink. It is a thing. I'm certainly not going to judge anybody for it, right? sounds pretty harmless, you know?
Yeah.
Let's watch each other eat, or let's put food on each other. I agree with you. It's definitely not my kink. I get totally grossed out by mukbang and mouth sounds and all of that. I can't stand it. It's kind of right up there with tapping for me.
Yeah, Grace doesn't like tapping.
either.
I think tapping's awesome, but
Yeah.
Grace sort of discriminates against. Yeah.
So let's see. Jeremy says, do you think that sensual ASMR is a Western culture thing, as I haven't come across many international content in that genre? So that's interesting, because I have seen several women who are not American doing sensual ASMR. There's a couple of girls who are Russian, which I really enjoy. I love that accent. I get ASMR from accents.
Yeah, me too.
And that's one that really gets me. I've seen a few people, but I think they're actually living in the U.S. So even though they're from somewhere else, they are, like, they're in L.A.
That's right.
So yeah, it is kind of interesting. And, you know, I think this goes back to our earlier discussion about we live in a very progressive society that allows women quite a bit of freedom to do what we want with our bodies and with our sexuality. Now, obviously, there are limits to that we're still, you know, barriers that we're trying to break. We kind of won't get into that too much, but for the most part, you know, we're pretty free here, and not everyone has that ability. So, you know, for someone else in another country, creating that type of content could get them put in jail, or it could get them killed.
That's right.
So, you know, it wouldn't be worth it for them to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is kind of an interesting observation, I think, for sure.
Yeah,
we got behind on the thing again.
Yeah.
You guys you're
There's some echo in the audio you saying, Callum? Double audio. Okay. I wonder if that's
Yeah, so Anomaly 001 has a good point. They're saying that they use music to help moderate their mood, as well as ASMR. And yeah, I do that too. I love music. It's why I put out a playlist every month for people to check out. So yeah, I use music for that too. And I think maybe a lot of people who are into ASMR are kind of sensitive to music, or, you know, really enjoy that. I don't know. What do you think, Muzz?
Sorry, I just noticed that there was some comments there about the sound was acting up.
Oh, whoops.
Double audio. So I've muted my mic right now.
I was probably talking too loud.
No, that's okay. I'm thinking maybe we could switch the pattern on yours to front and back.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
Which does it this way.
Oh yeah. Ooh.
No,
that sounds
that isn't
interesting.
stereo though. But
no, it's not. But it actually has given us pretty good sound.
Yeah, double sound is gone.
Yeah,
no
and this
echo
is
now.
technically this is the podcast setting.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it is.
I mean, it isn't left right, but who cares?
Yeah. It's forward and back.
And you guys can hear me okay, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Anyway, sorry, I was distracted by a
Crinkle
technical
Lovin'.
difficulty there. Your Grace, our
So
royalty.
Crinkle Lovin's come up with a new kink. She wants someone to pour marijuana all over her. Thank you for sharing. This is a safe space.
That's right. You can say what you want within reason.
Oh, you're my girl. She hates tapping too. It makes me so nervous. I can't stand it.
Yeah, it's and that's what
Tippy tappy.
Gentle Whispering mentioned, misophonia, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
There's just certain sounds that drive you absolutely insane, like in a negative way. And it sounds like that's you with tapping. So.
Oh, Jesse had a good question.
Okay.
What does Grace look like?
Well, I don't think...
I am a vision of sweat right now.
Yeah, it's pretty warm in here. It's hot and humid in eastern Canada right now. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to leave that to your imagination, Jesse, because that's one reason why I'm an audio artist.
Yeah.
I think that it's important for the listener to use their imagination, and I can be anyone that you want me to be. And that's part of what makes my work so special, because it requires not only my creativity, but also yours as a listener. And so we actually have to work together and be creative together in order for the art to
Flow.
fully come alive. And I think that's really cool.
And Tippy Tappy is feeling personally attacked right now. So,
I still love your whispers, Tippy Tappy.
I hate ear-eating ASMR.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, when it first started, I quite liked it, but I don't like it anymore. So, yeah, I don't know. It's too much. And it does seem borderline wrong. Like, yeah. But, but that's just my own personal preference, though, so. You guys go ahead and make whatever ASMR you like. You've got both me and Grace's blessings.
That's right. Oh my God, sorry. I just got to the part about all the double audio, and you guys are cracking me up.
So, what else can I write down here? And we were talking about people getting turned on by food. So, I did a little, oh my God, sexy pizza thing there. So, that's for those of you who like that.
Jenna Trovey had a good question.
What
trigger creeps you out the most? Who creeps you out? Oh, that's quite different from just kind of irritates you. Yeah,
Annoying you, yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. I'm trying to think.
Although Pivy definitely agrees with you, saying that when listening to a lovely ASMR video, suddenly there's tapping. Absolutely no reason for it. Just tapping for some random object. Yeah.
I'm not alone.
But that doesn't creep you out, though, that type of thing. It just... Yeah, so...
You know what, Cruz? Actually, we were talking about this before the podcast started. I love Ephemeral Rift. I think he's an amazing artist.
Yeah.
I really admire his creativity and his production values and his commitment, but I have never made it through one of his videos completely, because he just creeps me the fuck out.
Which I think is probably the intention.
Oh, totally.
But
his whole what is it, I forget what it's called, but his whole psych hospital.
Oh yeah. Anaheim.
Yeah, world that he's created. And some of his characters, and it's just super creepy. And I think also the kidnap scenarios.
Right.
I can't watch those either. Yeah. They kind of creep me out a little bit. So that's the stuff that creeps me out.
Yeah, I felt like I had a couple of people creeped out with my interrogation videos, and that was kind of the limit of where I was comfortable doing that type of thing. But if you want to do it and you feel, that's your art form.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. And there are tons of people that are really into it. Obviously,
and there's obviously
so
an audience
popular
for that.
Yeah, there's definitely an audience for that. So, I think that kind of goes back to what we were talking about, how ASMR is sort of this very generic umbrella that so many different genres and so many different variations can fall under. And I think that's the great thing about art, right? It's so subjective and everybody has their own interpretation of it, and you can connect with different artists. I think that's what makes each of us unique. So it's pretty cool.
And opens your eyes too. You go on a video which you think might be creepy or might be, oh, nobody's ever going to love this, or why would, and then you look at the view count and you look at the comments and you think, wow, there's a lot of people who like this stuff. And it opens your eyes to a whole new avenue for content for yourself to explore. So
yeah, no, it is cool.
Fantastic.
And we can get inspiration from each other, and I think that's really cool. Oh, Tippy Tappy says he's changing his name to Tippy Tippy.
Okay. So it's just going to be tiptoeing around the Blue Yeti from now on.
Oh, Taylor had a good question.
What's your guilty pleasure sound? Guilty pleasure.
Oh, I know what mine is.
What's that?
So there's an artist called Relaxing Male ASMR,
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
he is phenomenal. And he's done this whole series of videos specifically about hugs. Like he's giving you hugs.
Okay.
And it's not a boyfriend role play, it's not sensual ASMR. It's just like very kind and loving and caring, kind of traditional ASMR. And I just like literally have had it on repeat for like 2 weeks.
Right.
Because it's just so amazing. And
Yeah.
he really gets, the production values were just incredible because he really like gets binaural and he's like, okay, is it okay if I come in? And he like asks for consent. And,
Oh, right.
it's just so great.
Nice
And that's
one.
my guilty pleasure. Oh yeah. And the
Okay.
Korean dog grooming.
The Korean dog grooming.
ASMR.
It's funny, I don't have a great deal of time, or I can fall asleep without ASMR now.
Mm-hmm.
And I can watch an ASMR video for 5 minutes and I'm out like a light. So I'm starved for new content in many ways. I tend to go back to the same sort of stuff. And I don't know if I would say it was a guilty pleasure, but the one that I tend to gravitate to, which always works, is massage and shaves.
Oh yeah, those are good.
Like, and half of them are not even ASMR. I mean, they are, but they're unintentional, or they're tagged ASMR, but they're not really made by ASMR channels.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just some dude getting a shave in India or Turkey, and then a little face massage, and I'm watching it, and I'm out like a light. But yeah, I don't think I would necessarily call it a guilty pleasure. It's just, that is what it is. So yeah.
Oh, I agree with Tippy Tappy. He said that he likes Fred's Voice Rude Barbershop. All the Fred's Voice like rude videos are hilarious.
Right, are they?
Yeah,
Okay.
and there's another artist called English Whispers ASMR. He doesn't post very often, like very rarely, but he has some of the most hilarious like boyfriend role plays. Like he's putting on your makeup, but he like totally F's it up.
Nice.
And he has like this super like dry, sarcastic English humor in all of his videos, and I just die laughing when I watch them. They're so great.
I'll definitely need
Yeah,
to
it's so great.
It's guilty in the corner.
Oh, Jesse wants to know if I'm gonna draw as well. I'm gonna actually leave that up to Muzz. He's our designated drawer for this podcast.
Yeah, unfortunately my studio space is kind of tight and there's a bit of a squeeze in here, but
He just has me shoved in the corner.
yeah, just shoved in the corner. That's where the guests go.
Oh, somebody wants you to do Scottish Gaelic ASMR.
Scottish Gaelic. Well, see, if I knew any Gaelic, I could do that. But Gaelic or Gaelic is an incredibly difficult language to learn. And I'm so sad to say that I know extremely little about it. So, but maybe I will have to do some research on that.
So, JRP had a good question. Do you want to read that one?
Gentle Whispers, GB, and a few others have had platforms, TV, interviews, articles to explain ASMR. Do you think there will be sensual ASMR artists to garner the same attention to spread a message? I think there more than likely would be if they get to, Gentle Whispers, GB, and a few others, like you mentioned, generally get to do those things because of their size and they get approached. I don't know of any specifically sensual ASMR artists right now who are of such a size that it would, but I think there certainly would be in time,
So this is actually a really interesting question because I've been interviewed by Teen Vogue, and I was also interviewed for another article. Oh, I can't even remember what it was for now. But unfortunately, whenever you get interviewed by a journalist, they take that information and, they write the article that they were intending to write, and they use your sound bites however they choose to.
They were already going to write it a certain way anyway.
Exactly. So there's a bias there.
Yeah.
So, a lot of times it doesn't quite turn out how you would hope, or you may have given the answers and, really explained the genre and, kind of gave your whole, your whole outlook, and then they use maybe one sentence of it and they use it in a completely out of context.
To support their original viewpoint.
So it can be really challenging. And Karuna Satori, she's been interviewed a few times. And there was an article that was actually pretty good. I can't remember which publication it was for. It was just a couple months ago. So there are some larger artists who've been interviewed, but I still haven't seen an article yet or a feature yet that really isn't going for some sensationalistic, angle.
Exactly.
And it's really disappointing.
Even the bigger artists who often do an amazing job at telling people what ASMR is and what it isn't, in the media, even then they struggle because they generally try to steer it towards some little thing that they already saw, where somebody was eating a pickle, crunching into a giant pickle or something, and they've already got a predetermined notion of what ASMR is, and they kind of want someone like GB or whatever to come and perhaps confirm that. So it's hard enough to do it with ASMR in general, never mind some of the more specific areas of ASMR,
right,
at least yet.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, I was watching, I don't know if any of you have seen the Mapplethorpe biopic with Matt Smith. It's phenomenal. But, it's kind of interesting because, Mapplethorpe was considered a pornographer.
Right.
And no one wanted to purchase his photographs. No one wanted to display his photographs. And finally, he kind of made it into the art world. And now he's considered this amazing artist. And, his work is displayed in museums around the world. And, he's lauded as being a pioneer in the field. So, you never really know what's going to happen with an art form or with specific artists. You just got to do your work and put it out there and just keep steady on, right? Yeah. Keep doing your thing.
Be
true. Yeah, be true to your art form. Yeah. Keep your messaging consistent. And, eventually, hopefully, maybe we'll get some recognition and some appreciation for being the art form that we really are.
Another good question from Callum there. What are everyone's thoughts on Life with Mac? ASMR, because there's some controversy over her making ASMR because of her age. Yeah, that's a good question too, I think.
Yeah, so I've never watched any of the children's ASMR channels. I mean, I've heard of her, but I've never actually seen any of her videos or watched her channel because
I've seen clips of it on other channels that generally make reaction videos to them. And, maybe they're not always exactly fair on what clips they use anyway.
Yeah, and, I think anytime a young woman or a girl puts herself in the public space, again, going back to our earlier discussion, they will be sexualized.
Yeah, I have alarm bells with that.
Exactly.
Right away.
I agree with you. And so, if I were a parent of a child who wanted to do that, and frankly, I wouldn't care if it was a boy or a girl, I would be very hesitant to allow my child to go on the internet.
Yeah.
I think as a parent, the internet can be a really scary place. And yeah, I'm like kind of torn on this because, on one hand, we want to encourage artists, we want to encourage creativity, we want to encourage young people to express themselves and to move around in the world without fear. We want young women we don't want them making choices because of how we think people are going to react to them, right? We want them to be free to move about in the world and do what they want to do. But then there's the reality of the world we actually live in. And there's safety concerns.
Their own safeties.
Right. Yeah. So I think I would be concerned about her safety, and I would be concerned about someone that young having to deal with the stress of being a public persona. I think there's a lot of stress that goes with that. There's a lot of, maybe self-esteem issues, depression, anxiety, things like that. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. It's bad enough or scary enough in any traditional media to have a kid that young being in the public eye, but in an art form like ASMR, which so many people don't understand what it's about, and there are definitely aspects of it, like we've discussed today, that could be potentially dangerous, which is fine for consenting adults, but for kids, it's a whole other ball game. And
But then I think also, if you think of the other side of it, just like we as adults are going online to seek comfort, to seek intimacy, to seek, all of these things, I think a lot of children are going online now. Like we didn't grow up with the internet, right? But
that's right. We remember before it.
Kids now are growing up with the internet. It's part of their lives from the moment that they're kind of sentient. And that's where they go to socialize. It's where they go to make friends. It's the new neighborhood. It's the new backyard.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, maybe they should have representation on there. Maybe it's more dangerous for them to be gravitating towards adult artists than it would be for them to be gravitating towards artists their own age. So I don't know. I'm kind of looking at it both ways. It's an interesting issue. It really is.
Yeah, very much so.
Let's see. Jonah Trovey says, "What's the tea all about, Calum?" I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw that too, and I don't know what that's. Calum. Tia. I can't believe I forgot about Tirar. Yeah, Tirar's awesome. Tippy Tappy's gone.
Yeah, bye Tippy Tappy.
Because he was offended that Grace doesn't like tapping. So.
Oh, and Jellybean Green has a good point. Yeah, she said the self-esteem issue is my biggest concern about kids on YouTube. Yeah, I agree. I think that's a big issue. But I think that's a big issue for any child artist, right? Child actors, which essentially that's what these kids are on YouTube, right? We were having that discussion last night, that YouTube really is a legitimate platform for acting now.
That's right. It used to be an alternative to main traditional media, and now it really is the media. It's the main place. Like there's TV shows that are going to be streamed, not necessarily YouTube, but online in general. It's a primary place to broadcast now. Yeah, it's not like a weird alternative. So popularity, self-worth correlation that develops wreck a lot of adults. It's bad enough for adults. Exactly. Jellybean.
Yeah, and I think we all struggle with that.
Oh yeah. Hey Maya. Speaking of reaction videos, there was one FBE did that featured various ASMR artists. Does that put it in the line to be something to be made fun of? Oh, it's definitely something that people make fun of anyway. There's never going to be getting any away from that.
Hey Maya.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean honestly, you kind of have that old adage, there's no such thing as bad publicity.
Yeah.
Right? So the fact that our community is getting well known enough and our art form is out there enough to even be made fun of is pretty awesome.
It's a good sign. Like I got roasted by another Scottish YouTuber a couple of months ago, and it was hard. Like I knew it was coming, and I knew the minute I made my public YouTube account that if I ever got enough subscribers and enough notice, that I knew it was coming anyway. And then I knew that one was actually coming, and it was still hard to deal with, but it was actually good. It was a good lesson for me and for anybody who that happens to. It's, you can either recoil in horror or you can go, nope, this is the public forum that we signed up to. At least as adults we signed up to. So you just have to accept it. And there's no such thing as bad publicity, like you said.
Right.
So, yeah.
And I mean, honestly, some of it is a little funny.
Oh, yeah, it is. It's hilarious.
Yeah, if you don't know what it is.
And you've got to be able to laugh at yourself.
Right, exactly.
So
now, and, you know, there's a difference between something that's, you know, intentiously malicious and mean-spirited and something that's just, you know...
Just taking
it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Hi, Amber. Oh, we're glad that you made it.
You made it, Amber. I thought I told you last night to make sure you hit that bell. You should have, Alarm bell should have been going off on your phone. Or YouTube's not sending out the notifications. Whether ASMR or not, it's really so much pressure to be publishing a video that everyone would see. It's hard because on the one hand you want to succeed. That's right. There's also a fear of success as well. I think is a real thing.
Yeah.
People get comfortable where they are, and then suddenly something will blow up, and you're like, oh God, okay, I don't know if I'm happy with this.
Right.
This is scary.
Yeah.
People are talking about me. Oh, I just saw myself mentioned on Twitter by 10 different people, and then you're like, well, wait a second, this is what I wanted. I wanted my art to be seen. So yeah, there's pressure as soon as you hit that upload button.
Yeah, and I think there's also, you know, that negative self-thought, right? Like, do I deserve this level of success? Am I really good enough for this many people to be interested in me? You know, and I mean, I know that I'm like my own worst critic. I never think that my audios are good enough. I always think they could be better, you know, better production, better story, better acting, whatever. And so, you know, I think that's something that you just constantly deal with as an artist, right? Is like fighting yourself. You know, you don't want to hold yourself back.
Oh, I've got a Pfeiffer in the chat, so...
Bye, Taylor. Thanks for stopping by.
We'll ban Glenn in just a wee second. See you, Taylor. Yeah, it's been fun. I think it has been fun, actually.
Yeah, it's been super fun. You guys had a lot of great questions. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any last questions? Because we've been streaming for 81 minutes.
Yeah, almost an hour and a half. It's looking pretty good.
We've blasted past Muzz's usual 60-minute
That usually
limit.
happens later at night when I'm extremely tired, and this is early, so I think I'll last the extra half hour. This one, I feel like that's going to contrast a lot, but whatever. I've experienced ASMR all my life and always thought I was some kind of a weirdo until I found the online ASMR community. F the people laughing at ASMR, F them. I don't know what those little stars are for, but it's got F star star star. Yeah, I agree, Pivy. And I think most of us are in the same boat with that.
Yeah. Definitely. Let's see. So JRP says, both Grace and Muzz, do you still create content that you enjoy but may not garner the views from your audience? That's a great question.
Yeah. I always take the piss out of Fife, and the video I did of the Scottish Ned talking about Fife, I feel like it didn't do very well, but I'm really glad I made it for my own sake. So I enjoyed the content. I made the content because I enjoyed making it. So yeah. But it didn't garner the views from my audience, just like you said. So there's a bit of that. But if you want your channel to grow, then obviously you have to balance that out. Like, you know, maybe every fifth video is that type of video. The other ones you give the people what they want.
Well, and I think for me, I think you have to remain true to yourself as an artist, because you originally start creating for yourself, right? Because you don't have an audience when you first start.
That's right.
So you're putting the art out into the world that you really maybe want to see, or, you know, something that you are hoping will help other people, but you have no idea what the actual result is going to be. So, you know, and people gravitate towards that, and you build an audience based on that. So if suddenly you're super popular and you stop being true to yourself as an artist, and instead you're just trying to placate the masses, right? And you're just spinning around in a circle trying to make everybody else happy, and really producing subpar content, and not the type of content that people originally sought you out for, because you're not being true to yourself anymore. So yeah, I think Muzz does have a good point. You know, it's important to take feedback, and you know, you can always improve your technique. You can, you know, try to refine, expand. But I think at your core, you always have to stay true to yourself, and you have to do what you feel is artistically important to you. And sometimes that's going to resonate with your audience, and sometimes it won't. And that's just part of being an artist, right? Not everything is going to be a raging success. But I think that people will appreciate your genuineness. And people will recognize that in you, that you really, you know, truly are creating art and not just trying to create clickbait.
They can tell if it's genuine.
Exactly.
It shines through.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anomalies bailing. Cheers for swinging by.
Oh, bye, Anomaly.
Some great questions, thanks. And,
5 minutes.
Yeah.
We've got 5 minutes to go, guys.
Really bad swear word, that. Fight for it. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Advice to someone who wants to become a YouTuber who has an intense fear of failing and has a lot of insecurities. Just do it anyway, because you'll never know, I think. But obviously you have to be comfortable with taking the leap, perhaps. But an intense fear of failing and a lot of insecurities. I think you'd be in good company, because I think most people have exactly those two things. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, but here's the thing about failure. I don't think that failure is the F word that everybody really thinks that it is. Because a lot of times you learn more by failing than you do by succeeding.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so if you look at failure as an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to reevaluate, an opportunity to grow, then it's not really so scary. So, you know, failing is not really a bad thing. And if you look at a lot of great artists, a lot of great inventors, even Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, Albert Einstein, Edison, you wouldn't believe how many times they failed. Walt Disney, what was it, like 65, 70 failures before he finally got going? So behind every great success is about 1 million failures. And what those people learned in that time is what allowed them to become such a great success. There's no such thing as overnight success. Nothing.
It's a simple kind of rule, but I mean, I get it, the fear of, but now you've just got to do it and learn it and do it again, and then learn a bit more, then do it again and get better and better, and before you know it, you're succeeding. Yeah,
and as far as being insecure, you know, I think a lot of that maybe is just inexperience. So as you gain experience, as you fail and try again, you'll become more secure. And, you know, it's not such a bad thing, because you may meet some incredible people along the way and have some really incredible experiences and learn a lot about yourself. So don't be so afraid.
Hey, Sweet Pea, you just joined in right when we're about to end it.
Hey, Sweet Pea.
Agree completely with Grace. Failure is a necessary part of life. It's not if, but when, and we should start appreciating it for its value. Yeah, totally.
Yep. Do it, Jenna Trovey. Do it. Upload those songs. Put yourself out there.
Yeah, and just tag them and describe them. Tweet them out, and don't look back.
Yeah, and guess what? Guess what's going to happen if you don't do that? Guess what's going to happen if you don't post and you don't put yourself out there? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So the only way that you have any chance of making something happen is to put it out there.
Exactly.
So, you know, do it.
I'll tell you right now, I've thought about deleting my channel and even lots of videos from my channel many times through insecure feelings and so on, and I think it's probably pretty normal. So,
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
What about
Awesome.
Bungie and 343 Industries? I don't know what that is.
I have no idea what that is.
Is that a band or
Bungie, is
a
that
game?
like a gaming company? Oh man, whatever it is, I'm sure we're showing our age.
We are.
In our ignorance of that. So. Okay, well, I think that's a good place to end it, everybody.
Yeah.
We're almost bang on an hour and a half.
I know.
So, all people who made Halo, gotcha. Thanks everybody for joining us, and thanks so much to Grace for swinging by and chatting to us for an hour and a half.
Super fun.
Yeah, it's been fantastic.
Super fun.
Sorry about the audio glitch earlier. We thought we could connect two Yetis and it would be awesome, and maybe we screwed something up, but whatever, it's fine.
We fixed it.
Yeah.
We failed, but we got back up.
That's
and we
right.
fixed it. And we learned that you cannot connect two Yetis at once.
Yeah, or at least we need to do some more testing before we
Exactly.
can do that. So.
Oh, thank you guys so much. This was so much fun.
Yeah.
And Muzz and I have had such a great time getting together. And I would encourage anybody who's an artist to, we all connect online, but there's just something really special about being able to connect in person, and to sit across from somebody and have those conversations and, be able to collaborate in person. It's just really special. So I'm glad I had the opportunity to do this, and I would encourage any other artist out there to definitely give it a try.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it's good online connection, but in real life it can be a bit scary.
We were both nervous.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
We were definitely. Yeah, we talked about that because we've been talking for almost 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Like almost every day.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of a big deal to meet in
and then
person.
suddenly you meet them and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do I say? Well, what did you say before?
Right, exactly.
It's like, it's just, we're all human, right? So, okay, everyone. I can type in the chat too.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring back my keyboard here, and even though it looks ridiculous, but...
I'm giving you all hearts and sending you love and light. And for all of my listeners who came over, thank you so much. And be sure to check out ASMR Muzz's channel if you haven't already. He has some really awesome videos, and also be sure to check him out on Patreon as well.
Thanks. Thanks again, Grace. Thanks again, everybody. And have a great day, night, whatever time it is, wherever you are. And we'll catch you next one.
Bye.
See ya.